Louisa, it's such a pleasure to have you here with us today. I'm so excited to get your views on what's happening around the activewear sector. It's such a huge sector. It seems to be continuing to grow even beyond where people thought it would go. And who better than yourself to be able to share some insights?
Hi, Jane. Thank you so much for the invitation. I'm delighted to be on the podcast. Yes, it's really exciting what's happening in activewear at the moment. It's been growing steadily, and there's so many different developments happening in terms of developments in the fiber and textile technology through to where activewear actually lands. There's a lot of sort of like cross category now, and which is beneficial to the consumer because it's much more efficient. We're seeing activewear that you can, it's a it's a higher level performance direction from athleisure in a way. And activewear is really coming through in so many different areas.
I think that's really interesting. And you're right. I have noticed the fact that everything started out with adding performance, right? And then that's been like, well, probably well over 10 years. So now, as you're saying, it's evolving and it's becoming more sophisticated. What are some of the key things that you're seeing now that you feel are sort of this is defining activewear at the moment?
Um, I think to begin with, we're seeing a big push in the sustainability side in terms of the ingredients going into the fabrics for activewear. I do like to highlight sustainability is not a trend. It's going to be part of the DNA of the textile industry. And we're constantly developing. And as soon as a brand, whether it be at brand ingredient or at retail, comes through with something new, that's not enough. You've got to start on the next development and keep moving and developing and evolving. So I think to begin with, activewear has been an area where we've seen sustainability really progress. We've seen a lot of recycled fibers and yarns featuring there. We're seeing a big push in the new developments in bio-based spandex. And spandex is an important aspect to activewear because of the support and the control it can deliver.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's really interesting. And you're absolutely right. Sustainability is no longer something that's an option, whether you believe in it or not. And I think most people believe in it. The legislation that's come through has made it no longer an option. And in fact, right, has made it more challenging for brands to be able to comply with increasingly complex rules and regulations. So the developments, like you're saying, coming from the fiber side are critical. I mean, brands have to somehow find a way. And from what most of them are telling me, it's really not that easy.
Yeah, you're spot on there. It is really difficult. I mean, we are sort of like drowning in data as legislation comes through. What's quite interesting is that talking to through my sort of like job, I talk to a lot of people, and it's really interesting that even within the supply chain of a brand, that there's so much this sort of like silo-based work method, and they're not connected to each other. And there has to be sort of like this open communication, this open dialogue happening within brands, but also within the industry. So a lot more transparency, traceability, super important. For the EU, we've got the digital product passport coming in, and it's the more you can be prepared, the better. And so I'm hearing of a lot of brands, and they're really mapping their supply chain now, digitally mapping it, also working with brand ingredients as well. So right through the supply chain, everybody has got their data, everybody's very transparent, and you're sourcing the best you can.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. The challenge around managing all of this data, that's the foundation of those digital passports, is incredibly complicated and fraught with all kinds of complications that superficially you don't think of it, but once you start to actually try to execute on it. So for brands, to be able to find, I think, some kind of a turnkey, right? Or at least fewest possible steps to be able to reach that sustainability target has got to be something, I don't know if you're seeing it, but that ultimately is going to be the only way because the more complex your supply chain is, right? Um, you're just going to drown, drown in data.
Yeah, that's it. That's true. I mean, I think also there's still, even though the legislation is coming through, no one seems to really have got what it is. There's still so much confusion. And I have noticed that more companies are sort of like taking more control over their supply chain. And also from the textile point of view as well, the mills that I work with as well, becoming more vertical. So offering the brands and the buyers more control within a vertical delivery. So that's where we're seeing changes and sort of like tightening the supply chain. And it's also, I mean, no one really knows how we're going to define the sustainability of certain products. I mean, I work with so many different fiber developments that I still work with virgin, conventional synthetics because at the same time, there's still a demand for them. I work with recycled as well. So, but even with like the conventional synthetics, they still have sort of like a core value in the longevity they deliver and the durability, and depending if they're going into a performance fabric. These are certain aspects that we need and that we only get from a virgin synthetic. So, in a way, that longer life of them, or the fact they can go back into the circular economy or something like that, how do we map that? That's something that, we're coming across as being problematic. It doesn't mean to say that say a recycled synthetic, a recycled polyester, for example, is cleaner than well, has a stronger sustainable passport than a conventional synthetic because of the processing used for that plastic. So it's just really, I think it's really complicated in the industry because we don't all communicate. This is the problem because I'll have like the natural fiber people going, we're better than the synthetics, and synthetics saying we're better than naturals. And it's like, no, you've both got pros and cons. And I think there has to be a bit more of a marriage there in that, let's work together. And I'm noting more brands are coming together and pooling their resources in creating more transparent, traceability and tracking systems or take back schemes, things like that. Super important as all part of the sort of like sustainability.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that that's really one of the bridges that need to be crossed. And it's difficult because brands are, they compete with each other. So people want to be able to put a fence around what they're doing and have whatever competitive advantage they can. And yet at the same time, it's such an overwhelming job to be able to achieve this that how can you do it on your own, even if you are one of the, world's biggest brands? So it'd be interesting to see how that works itself out. And I'm sure people who were far smarter than myself have already thought about how to do it, but I'm still waiting to hear.
Me too. Um, yeah, it'll be interesting to see how it pans out. I do think as well, I mean, consumers have got to get on board with this, because it also comes down to education. And I think with the younger generations, they're much more aware of environmental causes and sustainability. And it's kind of in a way like when I was younger and it was like, it was sort of like smoking was the big thing.
Right,
Don't, you're pressurized not to smoke. Now it's sustainability is the big thing. You really pressure, it's like we've got to be sustainable. At the same time, you get consumers who don't care. I think an attitude that we sometimes have is that everybody thinks the same way and they don't.
right.
Not everybody cares. And for one example we have in Europe at the moment is with bottles and the bottle tops, the screw lid. They've done a system now where they lasso it onto the bottle. So if you unscrew it, you don't lose the lid.
Oh,
So that's really good from a sustainable point of view because when the bottles are collected, the lid's still there. It hasn't gone off and been chucked away and everything like that. No one likes it. They're like, oh, I can't stand this. We can't stand this. But if it's doing something better for the environment, put up with it. It's like, so there has to be a bit of give and take, I think, with the consumer as well. The consumer they want good value, they want performance, they want it all, basically, and they want their brands to deliver. And that's where the transparency comes in because they, in a way, have blind faith that the brands will do responsible sourcing. And if the brands do that, you have their loyalty. If you don't do that or you're caught out, and especially with social media, you dead. So it's sort of the consumers care, but they don't want the responsibility of it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that always is the case, right? People want someone else to take care of it, and they don't want to have to make any kind of compromise or sacrifice. So it's human nature. Now, if we're looking at developments in what I call the broader activewear sector, which is not just specifically sports performance, but like you were saying, how it's spilled over into athleisure, into maybe higher performance intimates, into even regular wet ready to wear. What are some of what you're seeing as the newer and more groundbreaking developments on the performance side that are spilling over into other sectors?
Um, I'm definitely seeing that the fashion industry is definitely looking in for ready to wear, looking at the fabrics we traditionally use in active wear. What's really interesting that we're noting is like we're doing a lot of developments in circular and warp knits where we've got clean cut technology.
Mm.
And that is really applicable to the ready to wear sector because you can get a lot of nice fluid silhouettes and this clean cut aspect is a really nice finish. You've got no seaming. And, sort of like that's definitely an area. Other aspects I see, everybody's crossing into each other's market in a way. And so, sort of like from the activewear side on the development, they're becoming much more fashion led, which is great to see. So we're seeing some really innovative odds coming through, seamless as well. Again, that's really good for the wearer, comfort fit, no seams, but at the same time, really strong on sustainability because there's very little waste in manufacturing. So that's really good. And I think also like the comfort factor that activewear delivers is really coming through in all sectors because that's what I don't know whether it is a legacy of the lockdown, but comfort is king. And that's where the activewear market really delivers because we put a lot of development in to how the body responds through activity and how we can support the body and core stability and shaping. And, it's really sometimes I'll put on a pair of leggings that will have high compression, and you really notice a sort of like a enhanced posture, and that'll cross through easily into the fashion side because why not have something fashion related that will also enhance your fit and form. So we see a lot of developments there as well. But I think one particular development that I'm seeing everywhere is UV plus. UV protection is massive, and that's something that's very easily available in the sort of like circular and warp knit sector, more so than the wovens, and it's really crossing through into all areas.
How is that being achieved?
There's different applications. You can have a finish treatment put on there, or you can actually have it microencapsulated into the yarn. And through construction as well, you can get a UV cut fabric. So there's different applications. And again, that's something in the activewear area that you can have a permanent performance, or you can have one that's a topical performance and it will last the life of the garment. Maybe the permanent performance will take it even further. So, and that's applicable to a lot of the different functions available in the activewear sector. I work in activewear, I work in sports and outdoors as well. And I love the performance the fabrics give. So I'll wear it's sort of like a sports legging, but with a fashion top, and that mix and match. And it's kind of the norm. You see wedding photos now on social media. Everybody's got trainers on, sneakers. It's like why not? Some of the technology that goes into sneakers is like fantastic. So, there's so many different aspects that the performance that has been developed for activewear can sort of like benefit other areas. And I think that's why the fashion sector in particular is looking at these fabrics.
I think that's really interesting. And you're right. You know, the ability to be able to bring through all the performance developments that have initiated in the activewear sector and add them to ready to wear as an enhancement only adds value to a garment. And I think right now it's critical to have some kind of added value because let's face it, almost everybody has more clothes than they actually need. So how do you convince someone to buy one more thing? Okay, fine if it's like a really different style, but then if it's not, how do you fight it out on the selling floor when what you have isn't all that different, at least, at first glance? So to be able to bring through these properties, at least you have a touch point, right? That
Yeah.
hopefully somebody will say, okay, well, gee, this has UV, oh, interesting, UV protection. All right, that could be a reason to buy that t-shirt.
Yeah, I think also other, performance factors like cool touch as well. That's a really good one on the store floor because the consumer can actually feel that performance. The consumer is more aware of what's available out there and when they find it coming through into ready to wear, it is added value to them. And also we find through consumer research now consumers want more from their ready to wear. So say travel, for example, is a big area where activewear crosses over into the travel sector. You're going away for a weekend break. A lot of the European airlines now aren't allowing, or you have to pay for a small wheelie bag. So you're taking a backpack. So it goes under the seat in front. So you've got to really pack efficiently. And so that's where this efficiency has to come through in the design of the clothes and the sourcing of the fabrics, because you want things that will be, say, anti-odor, that will last you the weekend. You don't necessarily have to take three pairs of leggings or a top or whatever. Again, going back to the fluidity of the fabrics, the performance fabrics, they'll work all day, but then, they'll look glam in the evening. You can dress them up with a necklace or so. It's just sort of like building up on this, but there's a real sort of like I would say efficiency emerging in the activewear side that will work for activewear, but will also work for overall experiences throughout the day.
I think that's such a good point. And you're right. People are definitely leaning more into experiences, which is leading to more, I don't know what you call it, leisure travel, perhaps. And of course, then you don't want to have to drag so much stuff with you. It sort of ruins the trip when you're having to manage, right? Tons of suitcases and so on. So yeah, absolutely. I think the fact that like you're saying, it's, a lot of these products now are lightweight, they're quick dry. Yeah, they're very suitable. And that's just another reason why people would want to buy that. Now, as you're looking at this activewear sector, it seems that, like I said, it's moved into a lot of different categories, but also there's so many new brands getting into this, indie brands, and it seems to be a category that's just a magnet, right, for anybody who wants to try their hand at creating their own collection. What are you seeing around that?
Yeah, definitely there are the existing brands that have really evolved on the activewear front. And again, there's so much coming out. I was recently in Shanghai recently, and I was really amazed there at the brands, both Western and domestic. It was really exciting. There's a big cultural confidence, a creative confidence happening there. And what was really interesting is talking to consumers is it's not enough just to be, say, a Western brand or a famous brand or anything. You've got to have something special. You've got to have something within a product that someone wants to buy. I do feel that as long as you deliver on the transparency, there's room for everyone. Some people are looking for a unique creative look, and then others are looking for sort of like buying into a brand, say like Lululemon or Sweaty Betty, and then you even cross over into the likes of Gymshark, who are understated but they're really good quality fabrics, but just subtle. If you know, you know kind of thing, when you see their logo. And so, yeah, there's a lot of developments happening in there. But even, some of the supermarket chains are bringing out very good activewear. And what I like about the activewear market and what I like about the sports market in the way it's developed now is the inclusivity. There are price points for all. So I basically, for me, sort of like activewear really is open to all.
I think that's a really good point. And you're right. That fact that there is such a wide range available, that there's literally something for everyone, regardless of what your preferences are in terms of style or performance. It's huge. And I think while we certainly love the power brands and the fact that they have the resources to do tremendous development, which influences the industry, absolutely critical. At the same time, a lot of these niche brands that are coming up are providing really creative product. And I like the fact that you touched upon what's happening in China, because I think in China and even throughout Southeast Asia, we're seeing so much innovation on the design side of things. So it's important because you feel like buying it when it has some, interesting detail, right? A cute style. It's sort of a more of a must buy than just, oh, here's another pair of black leggings. And yes, I know, they have some kind of a performance quality, but there's still another pair of black leggings. Whereas when you look at a lot of what's available in China and Southeast Asia, wow, just an incredible product design.
Oh yeah, I mean it's really interesting to see the change there, but also the consumers really wanting this activewear direction as well. Activewear is, we've got like urban outdoor now. I mean, it's just like I don't think I have many items in my wardrobe that don't have some form of performance in terms of the fabric. Not just that, the designs are different, but it is about that getting that comfort, getting that protection, that function. I think it's really exciting what's happening. I would give a shout out as well to the spinners because the spinners are the ones that are really pushing now. In the past, we've
Mm.
sort of like been looking at the knitters and the weavers and everything, but the spinning technology that's happening at the moment is really first class.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Oftentimes, the spinners are the unsung heroes of the
Yeah.
industry. They get no recognition, and yet they're the foundation in many, many ways of
Yes.
everything that we're enjoying on the performance side. So it's good that you brought that up. It's difficult to communicate that down the supply chain, right?
Yeah.
It's too intangible, and I think that oftentimes when brands have tried to create a message that's too granular, they lose the consumer. It's only a rare consumer, maybe that's just my opinion, who's going to really go deep researching a t-shirt. I mean, at the end of the day, you lose them. People just get frustrated. You're willing to do that if it's a big purchase like a car, right? Or a utility or even a phone. But garment has to be pretty fast paced.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, as much as we're seeing a lot more developments using transfer printing onto activewear, with QR code, with the care label and everything like that. So I'm not going to scan a QR code,
Yeah.
it's just like, um, I'm going to, okay, I have the advantage if I touch a fabric and, we know what a fabric's like and, we can feel it. But at the same time, it goes back to that blind faith with consumers and their brands. And it doesn't matter at what, which position your brand is at, whether it's just, a big volume or it's niche. It's you trust that brand. I trust the brands are going to, do the job for me. And I don't necessarily, it's basically if you want my money, you've got to do that.
Yes.
Um, so, it's got to perform. So it's really this is where I feel that at the moment this sort of like collective approach within the industry is important. And like you said, as much as we are brands that have competition, you don't want to give everything away. We can still work alongside each other and make better products with less impact and still deliver to the consumer without them having to, people haven't got time to go through everything on a t-shirt or a pair of leggings. They just need to know that it's been sourced responsibly, it's been manufactured responsibly as well, and and it will perform to their needs.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's really, like you say, it has to be a very simple and very clear message. And beyond that, except a few diehard consumers, they're not going to look for it. And it almost is a speed bump because fashion tends to be an impulse buy. So if now you're trying to add a research component to it, you're undermining that see it, like it, want it, buy it kind of thing. That is what,
Mm,
fuels most of us to buy a lot of
yeah.
stuff. If we stopped and thought about it, we might, buy a lot less.
Yeah, yeah, very true. But I think also, sort of like when there's an added function or performance that's highlighted, it just a lot of the time the consumer will be aware of it and kind of what it does. So like if it's like cool touch, obviously you can touch it. But and some of the retailers have put stickers on, that'll say touch me, which is really nice, touch me, feel me. And you do, feel it. But UV plus. Also we're seeing a lot of heating yarns, thermal regulation yarns that have come from the activewear side and especially base layers coming into ready to wear. So again, we can have lighter weight fabrics, but they'll be warmer. So we don't have all that lofty and layered approach. So, heating technology highlights it. Brands are using for cooling as well. They're using the sort of like temperature gauges and things like that. Just that connection. No need to know anymore. I mean, they have to work because otherwise you're going to lose the loyalty of that consumer. But the consumer doesn't need to know the tech behind it all and all the data and everything like that because it's just you never get anything done.
Yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly. Now, just one more thing. Looking ahead, looking down the road, what do you see perhaps as the next big development that, could really impact the activewear and related sectors? It doesn't have to be developed now, but if you see something that you feel like this could be the next big direction.
One area I'm seeing, and it's only in its early stages, and I think it's incredibly interesting, is printed circuit boards onto fabrics. And they're very soft and malleable. And in the past, you had to have sort of like chunkier things, and this is very smooth. Because the thing is, with activewear fabrics, a lot of the time that there's next to skin, second skin, so you want something on there that's you're not going to notice, and that's what I see in the future, in that we would have fabrics with these sort of like circuit boards on that can control the temperature, could control the compression, do I want a compression? Do I need high compression? Do I want a comfort fit? I mean, this is looking way, way ahead, but the consumer having control over the function of a garment, I think that's what I'm trying to say. So that, that would be really interesting.
Yeah, that would
But
be fantastic.
yeah. So, but I'm, sort of like some of the brand ingredients coming through now, the new ones, are really super interesting how they come about from, crossover from different industries and especially like the heating and industry and, how we can become much more efficient with our performance because I love performance. I love the fact that, products are going to deliver that performance for me. And if we can have control of that within but that could be an interesting aspect.
Yeah, exactly. I think you're right. The developments are just crazy exciting. Really interesting. And as you're pointing out, the confluence of technologies from unrelated industries that are coming together. It's really,
Yeah.
really exciting and a really dynamic time for activewear. Louisa, thank you so much for joining us here today. It has been a pleasure to have you with us. You always share so many great insights. So thank you again.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Jane. It's been great talking with you.